Hey guys, I'm T and welcome to the channel. If you're new here, we make trendy and fun crochet tutorials twice a week, and if you haven't already, smash that like button, drop a comment down below, and subscribe to join in on the fun. In today's tutorial, we're making a cozy sweater. For this one, we kept the sleeves 3/4, went with a simple scoop, and made sure the fit was nice and breathable. Cozy crocheters unite. Speaking of, if you're looking for even more cozy makes, you're in the right place. We have hundreds of the coziest, easy to follow crochet tutorials and patterns with all flavors, with even more dropping twice weekly, so consider clicking the bell to subscribe and you'll never miss an upload. Also, do me a huge favor and give this video a big thumbs up if you like it, or 2 thumbs down if you don't. Either way, it's a great way to show support so I can keep putting out free tutorials every Wednesday and Sunday. Now, it's time to get on the show, so without further ado. For this project, any category 3 yarn will work, but I used a total of 255 grams of yarn. That's 905 yards if you're stateside. As for tools, a 5mm hook, scissors, stitch markers, and a tape measure. There is a written pattern down below. Use offer code TCDDIY for a discount off any $9.99 plus order, and enter this week's pattern giveaway by telling us if you'd rather watch esports or live sports. For me, it depends on the video game, but I'd probably say live sports more. Details for the giveaway down below. We're using 4 stitches for this project, and they'll be as follows. Chain, slip stitch, single crochet, half double crochet, and double crochet. This tutorial is made for a size small. You can adjust it for your size, and we explain how to in the video, so let's get started. Getting this top started, we're all going to grab our category 3 yarn and make a slip knot. Then we're all going to grab our 5mm hook and start off by making a chain that is in multiples of 3 that reaches from the top of our shoulder down to our waist. Now I'd like for mine to be just about 13 inches or 33 centimeters, so I'm going to start by making a chain 60. And I already have this portion of my piece completed, so I'm just going to be doing a small sample size with you. Now that we have our chain, we're all going to get started with our sedge stitch. So our first sedge stitch is going to be done a little bit differently than all the other ones. What we're going to do is start by blocking off that last chain and do a chain 2. That chain 2 doesn't count as a stitch, that's our turning chain. Then into that chain that we blocked off, or the third chain from our hook, we're going to insert with 1 half double and 1 double crochet. So yarn over. Into that chain that we blocked off, or the third chain from our hook, we're going to insert our hook, yarn over, pull through for 3 loops on our hook, then yarn over, pull through 3. That is our half double. Now let's do a double. So yarn over. Into that same chain, we're going to insert, pull through for 3 loops, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Now that is going to be how we always do our first sedge stitch, unless stated otherwise. After we finish up a sedge stitch, we're going to skip the following 2 stitches and into the next insert with our sedge stitch again. But now the second sedge stitch and the rest of them are going to be 1 single, 1 half double, and 1 double into that same stitch. So we're going to skip 1, skip 2. Into that following, we're going to insert, starting with a single crochet, so pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. Into that same chain with a half double crochet, so insert, pull through 3. Then into that same chain with a double crochet, so insert, pull through 2, pull through 2. Now altogether we should have 2 sedge stitches next to each other. Let's do the next one. We're going to skip the following 2 stitches. We are always going to skip the following 2 because that half double and double actually count as those 2 stitches. If we work into there, we will accidentally be increasing. So skip 1, skip 2, into that next, insert with a single, into that same chain with a half double, into that same chain with a double. And that's that. We're going to continue on with this sedge stitch until we all have 2 chains left. So we are back. We've made our way all the way down our chain, leaving the last 2. Now what we're going to do is single crochet into that last stitch. So we are going to skip that second to last chain and into the last, just put 1 single crochet. Now our row 1 is complete and we should all have the same amount of stitches as chains that we made. Now we're going to do another sedge stitch row, so chain 2 and flip. Now it is going to be a repeat of our previous row, so getting that started together. Into that first stitch is going to be our first sedge stitch, which is 1 half double crochet, so to the top of that single crochet, and 1 double crochet. Again, we're going to skip 1, skip 2 into that next, which should be a single crochet from our previous row. Our sedge stitches are always going to be worked into our previous row single crochet to get the texture that we want. We're going to insert with a single, with a half double, and with a double crochet. Once more, we are going to skip 1, skip 2. Into that next, insert with a single, half double, double, and I'll meet you back when we have 2 stitches left. So we are back, and at the end of our row 2, we should all have 1, 2 stitches left. Now we're just going to close off the row with 1 single crochet. So into that last stitch, we're going to insert with 1 single crochet. Our row 2 is complete, and now we should all have the same amount of stitches as our previous row. Now this is going to be the shoulder portion. And all we're going to do is continue to repeat that previous row until we have a shoulder portion that can reach from 2 inches past the tip of our shoulder in towards the base of our neck until we are 2 inches away from the side of the base of our neck. Then I will meet everyone back right after an odd number row. But as you guys can see, I already have mine completed. Now I have a total of 17 rows. That's roughly 4.5 inches or 11 centimeters, and now we can get started on the neckline. So what we're all going to do is insert a stitch marker into a stitch that's nearest to the base of our neck. Now making sure that the tail end is along the bottom, we're going to place this top edge that we have right here, right at the top of our shoulder, and insert your stitch marker, making sure that it is in multiples of 3, right at the base of our neck. So I've inserted my stitch marker into the 12th stitch from the top, that's roughly 2.5 inches or 6 centimeters. Now from here, we're going to do our sedge stitch all the way up, and I will meet you back when we have 5 stitches left before our stitch marker. So we are back. We have just made our way all the way up with our sedge stitch, leaving 5 stitches right before our stitch marker, and now we're all going to do our decrease. So this is going to be a decrease of 4 double crochets. What we're going to do is yarn over. Skip that following stitch, and into the next, insert, pull through. Into that next stitch, pull through, into that next stitch, pull through, and into that next stitch, which should be the last stitch right before stitch marker, pull through for a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 loops on our hook. Then what we're going to do from here is yarn over, pull through the first 5 loops, then yarn over, pull through 2. And that is going to be how we're going to close off our decrease row. From here, the following row will be a regular sedge stitch row, so no increases, no decreases. So from here, chain 2, flip our work, and then make our way down with our sedge stitches per usual. Then, just to do the decrease together once more, at the end of that row, chain 2, flip our work, make your way back up, leaving 5 stitches, and then I'll meet you back. We are back, and our third neckline row is nearly complete. We made our way down, leaving the last 5 stitches. Now we're going to do another decrease of 4 double crochets, just like how we did for our previous decrease row. So what we're going to do is yarn over, skip that following stitch, and into the next, pull through, into the next, pull through, into the next, pull through, and into that last stitch, pull through for a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 loops on our hook. Again, yarn over, pull through 5, yarn over, pull through 2. From here, it's going to be a repeat of these 2 previous rows until we have a portion that can reach roughly 1 inch beneath the base of our neck. Now, right after these 3 rows, I am actually all complete. But for those of you that need to do more, just continue to repeat our 2 previous rows until we have that portion, making sure that we all end right after an even number row so that it is along the top. Now once we have this scoop completed, we're now going to do sedge stitch rows with no increases and no decreases, working our way across our chest. Then I'll meet you back right after an even number of rows that's 1 inch past the other side of the base of our neck. Then I'll meet you back to work on the other side of our scoop. I am back, and my neckline width is now complete. I have a total of 34 rows. Now we're going to get started on the rest of our neckline, which is just the few increased rows that we have. Now, since we should all be along the bottom, we're going to do our normal sedge stitches all the way up, leaving the last 2 stitches, then I'll meet you back to increase together. So we have made our way all the way up with our first increase row, but we've left the last 2 stitches. Now all we're going to do is an increase of 4 half double crochets into that last stitch. So starting with the yarn over, we're going to skip that second to last stitch and into the next with 4 half double crochets. So here's my first, into that same last stitch with my second, same last stitch with my third, same last stitch with my fourth. Now we should have 3 more stitches than our previous row. And just like how we did for the decrease side of our neckline, our following row won't have any increases or decreases. So from here, chain 2, flip our work, make your way down with our sedge stitches. At the end of that row, just so we can increase together once more, chain 2, flip our work. Make your way down, leaving the last 2 stitches, and I'll meet you back. So we are back. We have just completed our non-increase row and have also made our way back up. Just so we can do our increase together once more, we should have all left the last 2 stitches. Now from here, another increase of 4 half double crochets all into that last stitch. So skip that second to last and into that last with 4 half double crochets. So from here, all we're going to do is continue to repeat those 2 previous rows for the same amount of decrease rows that we have on this side. Now after my 3 rows, I actually have the same amount of rows. Now what we're going to do from here, once we have that, is make a chain for the same amount of stitches that we skipped when we got started on the neckline. So for those of you that have my numbers, I skipped a total of 12 stitches here. So once when we're done with the increase portion, we all should have ended along the top, so I made a chain of 12. Then from here, we're going to do our sedge stitch rows with no increases and no decreases for the same amount of shoulder rows that we had on this side. Once we have the same amount of rows, do a chain of 1 and cut, and then I will meet you back. We are back and the entirety of my front panel is complete. Now I have a total of 59 rows. My width is roughly 16 inches or 40 centimeters. Now what we're going to do from here is the back panel. The back panel is going to be done exactly the same way as the front, but without any of the increases or decreases. I already have mine completed, so I'm just going to talk you guys through it. We're all going to start by making a chain for the same amount of chains that we made when we got started on our front panel's shoulder portion. Then from there, just do our sedge stitch rows, no increases and no decreases for the same exact amount of rows as the front panel. Then once we have the back panel completed, I will meet you guys back so we can seam it up together. Once we have both of our panels completed, we are now going to seam everything together. We're all going to start with our shoulders, so go ahead and place our front panel on top of our back panel, then insert our hook into the top corner stitch of both the front and back. We are going to pull through and do a chain up of 1 to secure, and all we're going to do is alternate between 1 to 2 single crochets into every side row and work in through both the front and the back panel at the same time. So getting that started, we're all going to find that first side row within the front panel, insert first side row within the back panel, insert, and single crochet around everything. Now finding our following side row, this is mine right here, I'm going to find that top loop, insert within the front panel, find the same top loop within the back panel, insert your hook in through there, and we're going to do 2 single crochets. So there's 1. Into that same top loop within both the front and the back panel. It should be a little bit easier since everything is already gathered. We're going to insert with a second single crochet, and we're just going to continue this till we don't have any more side rows left. Just to do this once more, find that next side row within the front panel, insert in through that top loop. Next side row within the back panel, find that top loop and insert your hook in through there, and insert with 1 single crochet. Then into our next side row, 2 single crochets. So this is my next side row. Insert in through there within the front panel, same side row within the back panel with 1 single crochet, and then a second single crochet. This one should be a little bit easier because everything should already be gathered. We're going to continue doing this until we don't have any more side rows left to work into. When we don't, do a chain up of 1 and cut, and repeat on the other side. Alright, so now that we have just completed seaming up our shoulders, we're now going to seam our sides. So first things first, we're all going to want to make sure that our work is still flipped wrong side out, meaning the seam that we just did for the shoulder is still along the outside. Then we're going to insert our stitch marker into any stitch that is in multiples of 3 from the top right where we'd like for the armhole to be. So this is going to be the width of our sleeve. Now, I'd like for mine to be just about 7 inches or 28 centimeters from the top, so I inserted my stitch marker into the 33rd stitch. Then from here, we're going to insert our hook into the bottom corner stitch of both the front and the back panel, and we're going to seam all the way up till we reach our stitch marker. So our hook is in through the bottom corner stitch. We're going to pull our working yarn through and do a chain up of 1 to secure. Then from here, we're going to do a single crochet seam. So we're all going to start by finding that next available stitch. Into the front panel, go ahead and insert your hook. Next available stitch into the back panel, insert your hook in through there, and we're going to single crochet around everything. Let's do that again. Into that next stitch into the front panel, which is this chain, I'm just going to insert my hook in through that gap. Into that next stitch within the back panel, insert with a single crochet, and once more into that next stitch into the front panel, insert, next stitch into the back panel, insert and single crochet and just continue doing this until we reach our stitch marker. Once we do a chain of 1 and cut and repeat on the other side, and I'll meet you back. So now that we have finished up seaming everything, we're now going to get started on the length of our sleeve. So first things first, we're all going to insert our hook into the stitch that we have that's nearest to our side seam within the armhole. Then we're all going to make a chain that is in multiples of 3, the length that we'd like for the chain to be. I'd like for my sleeve to be just about 8.5 inches or 22 centimeters because I'd like for mine to be 3/4 length. So I'm going to start by making a chain 39. Now, as you guys can see, I've already made my chain 39. Our first row is going to be a sedge stitch row with no increases and no decreases. So since we already know to do that, I'm just going to let you guys do that. And then I'll meet you back once we're at the end of the row to show you how we're going to connect it into the base. So we are back and our row 1 is complete. We have made our way all the way down. Now we're going to connect it into the base. So that's going to be fairly simple. We're all going to start by slip stitching just into that next available stitch into the base. So just find that next available stitch. We're going to insert with a slip stitch. Now remember that slip stitch doesn't actually count as a stitch, that's just to connect. Then to work our way up to the following row, slip stitch into that following stitch into the base. Still doesn't actually count as a stitch. Flip our work and then work our way down with our sedge stitch. So just to do the first one together, we're all going to yarn over and insert our first half double crochet into the first stitch from our previous row, not into any of those slip stitches into the base. So just into the top of that single crochet, insert with a half double and a double, skip 2 stitches and make your way all the way down with our sedge stitch. Then at the end of the row, chain 2, flip our work, make your way back down, and I'll meet you back at the base just once more to connect it. So we are back and our first 3 rows for our sleeve are nearly complete. We're now just going to connect it into the base. So just like our previous row, finding that next available stitch into the base, insert with a slip stitch. That's just to connect. Then to work our way up to the following row, slip stitch into that following stitch into the base as well. Flip our work, then do our sedge stitch all the way back down. We're going to continue to repeat our 2 previous rows with no increases and no decreases, making our way all the way up and around. Well, we don't have any more stitches left to work into. I'll meet you guys back so we can seam it all together. So we are back. We've made our way all the way around with our sleeve. We don't have any more stitches left to work into, so now we're going to seam it together. The seam that we're going to do is going to be the same as the side seam that we did. So just to talk you guys through it, making sure that our work is the wrong side out, wrong side up. We're going to insert our hook into the corner stitch, then do our single crochet seam so we don't have any more stitches left to work into. Do a chain up of 1 and cut, then I'll meet you back to get started on the cuff. Once when our seam is completed, we're now going to get started on our cuff. So making sure that our work is flipped right side out, right side up, we're going to insert our hook into any one of the side rows that we have along the bottom of our sleeve. We're going to pull our working yarn through and do a chain up of 1 to secure. Then all we're going to do is put 1 single crochet into every other side row. So starting with my first side row, this is mine right here. I'm going to find that top loop and insert, starting with just 1 single crochet. This is my following side row. I'm going to skip that, then into my following side row, find that top loop, and insert with 1 single crochet, and that's it. We're going to continue doing this, making it all the way around, then slip stitch into that chain space, and I'll meet you back. So we are back. We have just completed single crocheting along the bottom of our sleeve. Now we're going to get started on the length of our cuff. So right after we have slip stitch into that chain space, we are then going to make a chain the length that we'd like for the cuff to be, and I'd like for mine to be just about 2 inches or 5 centimeters. So I went ahead and made a chain 10. Once we have our chain, we're all going to block off that last chain and do a chain 1. That chain 1 doesn't count as a stitch, that's our turning chain. Then into that chain that we blocked off, or the second chain from our hook, we're going to insert with a slip stitch. So into that chain, we're going to insert. When we have these 2 loops on our hook, we're all going to gently yarn over and pull through everything on our hook. We want to make sure that we're not tugging too tightly, otherwise the following row can be too tight to work into, so let's do that again. Into that following chain, we're going to insert our hook, yarn over, and gently pull through both. We're going to continue with 1 slip stitch into every chain. We've just made our way all the way down our chain with our slip stitch row. Now we're going to connect it into the base, and the way that we're going to connect it into the base is going to be done exactly the same way that we did the sleeve. So start by finding that next available stitch into the base, insert with a slip stitch, that's just to connect, that doesn't actually count as a stitch. Then to work our way up to the following row, slip stitch into that next available stitch into the base, flip our work, and now from here put 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch. So finding the last stitch from our previous row, not into any of those slip stitches into the base, we're going to insert in through that back loop, yarn over, and gently pull through everything. Once more, into that next stitch's back loop, insert, pull through everything. From here, continue with 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch. Then at the end of the row, chain 1, flip our work and put 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch again, and I'll meet you back at the end of our row 3. We are back, and the first 3 rows for our cuff are complete. Now we're going to slip stitch it into the base the same way that we just did. So just finding that next available stitch into the base, insert with a slip stitch. Then since we're here, to work our way up to the following rows, slip stitch into that next available stitch into the base, flip our work and put 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch again. From here, continue to repeat our 2 previous rows, making our way all the way around with no increases, no decreases. Once we don't have any more stitches left to work into, I'll meet you back so we can seam it together. So now that we've made our way all the way around with our back loop slip stitch rows, we're now going to seam everything together. So making sure that our work is flipped right side out, right side up, we're going to insert our hook into the first stitch, into the front panel, only into that front loop. So into that first available stitch, only into that front loop. Then into that first stitch into the back panel, only into that back loop or the loop that's furthest away from you. Then once we have these 3 loops on our hook, we're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 of those loops. This is our outside loop slip stitch seam to make it look like another back loop slip stitch row. Let's do that again. Into that next stitch into the front panel, insert only into that front loop. Next stitch into the back panel, insert only into that back loop. Then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops, and that's it. We're going to continue doing this till we don't have any more stitches left to work into. When we don't, do a chain of 1 and cut and repeat everything we did here on the other side. So now that our cuffs are all seamed up, the next we're going to do is our bottom band. So that's going to be pretty simple. We're all going to start with a single crochet row. So making sure the work is flipped right side out, right side up, we're going to insert our hook into any one of the side rows that we have along the bottom. Then we're going to be putting 1 single crochet into every side row. Go ahead and insert your yarn onto your hook. We're going to pull through and do a chain up of 1 to secure. Then we're just going to be putting 1 single crochet into every side row. So finding our first side row, this is mine right here. Find that top loop and insert with just 1 single crochet. This is my following side row. Find that top loop, insert with 1 single crochet again, and that's pretty much it. From here, continue with 1 single crochet into every side row, making our way all the way around. Then I'll meet you back to get started on the length of our bottom band, but really quickly, this single crochet row is going to be as wide as this portion can stretch. So once when it's completed, try your piece on, making sure that everything is fitting nicely. Now if it's a little bit too tight, reduce some stitches with a looser grip, or if it's too loose, reduce some stitches with a tighter grip. So now that our single crochet row is complete, we're now going to get started on the bottom band. Now the bottom band is going to be done exactly the same way as the cuff, so I'm just going to talk you guys through it. So once when it's completed, we're all going to start by making a chain the length that we'd like for the bottom band to be. I'd like for mine to be just about 2.5 inches or 7 centimeters, so I'm going to start by making a chain 12. Then do our same back loop slip stitch rows, making our way all the way around. Then once we don't have any more stitches left to work into, I'll meet you guys back so that we can seam it all together. So we've just made our way all the way around with our slip stitch rows for the bottom band. Now it is complete. We're going to seam it together the same way that we did the cuffs. So just to talk you guys through it, we're all going to make sure the work is flipped right side out, right side up. Then we're going to do the same outside loop slip stitch seam till we don't have any more stitches left. When we don't, do a chain of 1 and cut. So we are back. Our bottom band is all seamed up. Now the last thing we're going to do is our collar. So first things first, we're going to make sure the work is flipped right side out, right side up. Then insert our hook into any one of the side rows that we have along the neckline within the back panel. Then we're going to single crochet around everything. So starting with alternating between 1 to 2 single crochets into every side row. We're all going to start by finding our first side row. This is mine right here. I'm going to find that top loop and start with just 1 single crochet. This is my following side row. I'm going to find that top loop and insert with 2. So there's 1 and then there's 2. We're going to continue this, making our way all the way down. So just to do it once more, this is my following side row. So find that top loop, insert with 1. This is my following side row. Find that top loop and insert with 2. So there's 1 and there's 2. We're going to continue doing this until we don't have any more side rows left. Then once we reach the front panel, 1 single crochet into every stitch. Then working into our scoop, there's still side rows, so again alternate between 1 to 2 single crochets into every side row, making our way all the way around. Once we do, slip stitch into that chain space, and then I'll meet you guys back. So we are back, and we've just made our way all the way around with our single crochet row. Now everyone's following row is going to be a half double crochet row. So right after we've slip stitched into that chain space, we are all going to chain 2. Now working in the same direction as our previous row, we're just going to be putting 1 half double crochet into every stitch. So yarn over, into that first stitch, insert, pull through, yarn over, pull through 3. Again, yarn over, next stitch, pull through 3. Continue making our way all the way around with a half double crochet row. So we are back and we made our way all the way around with our half double crochet row. Now from here we're going to close off the row and then we're going to get started on our ribbing. So how we're going to close off our row is slip stitch into that second chain that we made when we got started on this row. So count up 1, count up 2. Into that second chain we're going to insert with a slip stitch, and that slip stitch is just to connect, it doesn't actually count as a stitch. Then from here we're going to chain 2, and working in the same direction as our previous row, alternate between a front post double and a back post double. So starting with a yarn over, we're going to find our first half double crochet from our previous row, not into that chain 2, and now we're going to bring our hook underneath the body of that half double crochet and through the other side. Then we're going to yarn over and pull through, should have 3 loops on our hook, then yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and that is our first front post double crochet. Now we're all going to do a back post. So yarn over the body of that following half double crochet. So we're going to bring our hook underneath our work now, in through that gap and over the body of that next stitch and through the other side, yarn over and pull through. Then from here, double crochet per usual. So pull through 2, pull through 2. And from here, we're going to alternate between those 2 stitches. Let's do this again. Yarn over, underneath the body of that following half double crochet and through the other side. Yarn over, pull through. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Then to do a back post, yarn over, bring your hook underneath your work, in through that gap, over the body of that next stitch, and pull through. Then yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And that's it. From here, we're going to continue to repeat those 2 previous stitches, making our way all the way around. Once we made our way around, we're going to slip stitch into that second chain that we made, do a chain of 1 and cut, and I'll meet you back. So we've just made our way all the way around with our front and back post stitches. We have slip stitched into that second chain and we are all done. Now the last thing we're going to have to do is just weave in all of our ends. And there you have it. Hope y'all enjoy the tutorial. Join us on Instagram, Pinterest, or Twitter. Those links are down below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Catch you on the next one. Bye!